Good morning. I'm going to talk about small game heads that we typically use when we hunt as a traditional mower. I'm going to start with these shafts here. This is an unfinished shaft actually. I bought these from Three Rivers Archery. I never got a chance to finish the end nor put any fletching on it. But kind of give you an idea, what we typically do is we typically glue on a 38 special or 387 magnum head to get a little more weight toward the front. If you put one double-aught buck pellet into the head, it gives you a little bit more weight on the far end of the shaft. The best analogy I can give you here with this arrow, I've shot squirrels with this, rabbits, anything on the ground for the most part, or even squirrels up in a tree. This arrow is like hitting the animal with a hammer. If you get a solid hit, neck, head, body, you're going to put the animal down. If you don't kill it immediately, it's going to be a very fatal injury. Another type of head you'll see here are these. I don't know the proper name for these. They do pretty good. A little more expensive than getting like reusable, recycled, reloading brass per se. But it is a decent head. Cool thing with this head, it ain't gonna penetrate too far in the ground. So if you miss the animal, you can easily find your arrow. One thing I started doing down in this shaft, this is a 1913. What I typically do, I try to use bright feathers. But also what I typically do is I don't use camouflage shafts anymore. The reason why, if you're hunting in dense brush, you spend time finding your shaft. If it gets locked into the grass or trees or whatever, the camouflage makes it a little bit harder to identify or find it. Here's another type of small game head. I think these are called Titans, if I recall correctly. It gives you a little bit of penetration, and it has other additional claws. Again, this is a beat up shaft, but this is a very effective broadhead if you're hunting rabbits, bobcat, possum, raccoons. Now I'm going to give you the other head. Now I pulled this out of my quiver, but this is a plastic broadhead style blunt force. These are plastic, and I'm going to show you how they deteriorate. I'll give an example. They don't hold up on repetitive use. I mean, even though this has been fletched, I don't know, 15, maybe 18, 20 years ago. I have no idea when the last time I shot this shaft, but this doesn't hold up that much. It's brittle. Over time and age, they're going to fall apart. This is some of the stuff that we do as archers, especially if we do small game. The reason why I emphasize on shooting small game animals, there's a couple of reasons why. Believe it or not, hunting, to be more efficient as a bower, you need to shoot a lot of arrows. Just like you got to shoot a gun a lot, become proficient at using that gun or a rifle. One thing about small game animals, I don't have one here in front of me, but let's use this bottle for example. This is way bigger than a squirrel. This would be a rabbit size. The target is much smaller. And what happens is when we as archers start shooting, especially deer, if you're able to hit consistently a target of this size, as a small game animal, a shot on a deer is easy. So if you think about this, when we hunt, the goal is to impact the animal with the appropriate cutting contact point of the broadhead or of the head of the arrow, right? So in this case, we got small game heads. That guy, if this was a neck or a rabbit or the center part of the rabbit. We're expecting to hit that with this arrow. The energy that's built in the limbs is transferred to the shaft. But ultimately, the killing is really not the shaft. It's really the point you put on the end of the shaft. Your accuracy of how you can get this shaft to impact the animal at the appropriate vitals is what you really want to be concentrating on. So if you're able to hit a small size animal repetitively with instinct spot shooting, just lining the arrow up and shooting it at the distance of your prey, that would make shooting a deer or a pronghorn or elk or whatever animal you're going for much easier. So I do a lot of small game hunting with arrows, just because it helps you build a lot of consistent draw. It helps you be able to pinpoint and shoot the arrow straight as an arrow per se at an animal, and it just gives you a lot more confidence when you go toward a bigger animal. The other thing too with squirrels, i.e. compared to a rabbit, or I mean like to a rabbit, like to a deer, typically seasons are open longer for squirrels. The bag limits are obviously greater also, and you're gonna probably almost always go out and see a squirrel in the woods. Maybe not so much with a deer, or at least not a legal deer, depending on what states you have. Might have deer restrictions, antler restrictions. But if you go out and hunt with small game animals with your archery setup, it will make you a better bower overall. Another thing I learned this from a guy. His name was Lee Patterson. I think he was originally from Tennessee, but I met him over in Glades County over in Florida. And what he taught me to do was take a broadhead and take a soccer ball or Nerf ball or football, whatever, plastic ball, and shoot that ball on the ground, and just use this arrow kind of like the way you use your feet to kick a soccer ball around. You use this to shoot that soccer ball. What that does is it helps you estimate distance, and it also helps you build your accuracy when you shoot small game animals, especially those that are on the ground. And eventually also helps you with a hog or a deer-sized animal also. But this is what we do. This is Creole Ken. This is a couple set up our broadheads that we use. The cheapest, if you're getting recycled materials, is to get a nickel-plated or brass-plated 357 Magnum casing or 38 special casing. You can buy the plastic broadheads. You can buy this spidery point catcher head, as I call it. Believe it or not, I killed a quail with this one time. And then you can also try with the more expensive Titan style, I call it a claw. You see the camera, get that picture in there. But that would definitely, catch the animal, cause it some major injury, if not kill it immediately. Creole Ken. On the bright colored shafts, I'm kind of give you an idea about what I talk about when you hunt in heavy vegetation. This is my backyard, but I kind of stuck these arrows into the grass. And picture this grass obviously being taller, or leaves, or brush. If the shaft is real camouflage, it looks like the surface of the earth, it makes finding your shaft or recovering your shaft that much harder. This is a trick I learned. So this is like a aluminum arrow. I just stuck them in the ground, kind of. To give you a story, me and my dad was shooting in their backyard, and there was one arrow when it got impregnated into the soil or into the earth. We raked that area where we thought the arrow was at for a couple minutes. We never found it. About 10 to 15 years later, when they sold their house, I was just out walking around, and I actually found the shaft, just like inches within the soil, the topsoil and the earth or grass in their backyard. So that whole shaft had basically survived. It had survived lawnmowers. It survived people walking, driving in their back field, and was able to find that shaft about 10, 15 years later. That there was an example of using a soccer ball for target practicing. This was a arrow at about 7 yards, no fletching. So how much of it feathers you need on the back of the shaft to steer it. But again, it's a short distance, about 7 yards. But again, kind of give an idea of what you could do with a bow.